All right, the main navigation menu. In an effort to show you some different ways to work here inside Illustrator, we've seen lots of different ways to create these layout objects, and I'm trying to think of different ways that I can show you to achieve similar results, just to give you some options, and you can stick with whichever method, whichever technique appeals to you. So, okay, we need a main navigation menu built into our wireframe now. Now, this main navigation menu, I already know the dimensions. The dimensions of this main navigation menu are going to be 480 pixels by just 35 pixels in height, okay? So here's an idea. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my rectangular tool there, of course, out of the toolbox once again. Could have tapped my M key on my keyboard if I were so inclined. And what I'm going to do is just drag out a quick, simple rectangle like this, okay? Now, we've seen this already. We've seen that we can go to the transform panel and we can go and knock in our dimensions, right? Width and height. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here. Width, so we said 480 pixels. I'll use my tab key to move forward. Look at that. I almost nailed my height exactly. 36. It's got to be 35. There we go. Now, specifically what I wanted to show you here in an effort to show you some different ideas is using the X and Y values, okay? So I know that the X value is going to be 0. Don't forget, that's your horizontal positioning. And as soon as I set my X value to 0, the left edge of the object, the selected object, lines up with the left edge of the artboard. But what about the Y value? How am I supposed to figure out what the Y value is going to be? Well, once again, usually this sort of stuff I figure out on a scrap piece of paper ahead of time, so that I have all of my dimensions and all of my positioning values figured out on paper first. And sometimes I grab the calculator app on my mobile phone and I'm figuring things out, all the numbers. And then I sit down at my piece of software here, Illustrator, and I knock in all of my values that I've previously figured out. So the Y value, how am I supposed to figure this out? Well, the wireframe that we're building, the layout that we're building, calls for this object to be lined up right underneath the header object itself. Now, I know that the height of this header object is 130 pixels. How do I know that? Well, I can cheat and select them and look down inside the transform panel. Sure enough, 130 pixels. So then that means that I can grab this main navigation menu and set his Y value. Don't forget, Y is vertical to 130 pixels, and that lines up the selected object there, the main navigation menu in our case, right underneath the object above it, okay? So this is, once again, just a different way of working, more of a numerical way of working, which, as you can see, has given us the result that we're after, which is great. Anyway, just a neat idea that I thought I'd throw at you. Okay, now, more importantly, I'm going to start to scroll down a little bit. As far as the layout is concerned here for our low resolution, once again, I've made a bit of an executive decision, a design decision here. I've decided that a slideshow, as our two previous layouts had, isn't very appropriate for a low-resolution layout. In other words, I'm imagining someone coming to visit my website on their handheld device, again, an iPhone or an Android phone or something like this, and having a slideshow occupy so much of the screen real estate isn't really appropriate. A slideshow works on a desktop computer or perhaps a tablet, but perhaps not so well when someone's commuting to work in the morning or, out and about, this kind of thing. It's going to take up too much screen real estate. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to leave the slideshow out for the low resolution wireframe. So we're going to jump directly down into the set of 3 content boxes. Okay, and that's what we're going to go and build next.